Second. Yay, it's live. Hi, guys. Welcome to Save the Cat Live experiment number 6. Part 6 of the Save the Cat experiment, where we're outlining the book with you live. And tonight we're talking about midpoint, which is very exciting. We're at the midpoint. And so we just wanted to say hi really quick. I wanted to introduce Brittany right from the start.
Hey guys, so excited to keep brainstorming with you guys. We were just talking about in the chat how you guys are super loving that. So I'm super excited to continue.
Yay, yes. And so we are just wondering where you're at in your outlines. As always, we're very curious where you guys are at, especially the second week of Nano. And we did want to take time tonight, like we did last week, to help you with your story at the end and just kind of like have fun brainstorming, talking Camp Nano, whatever you want to talk about. And then also today we just wanted to like start right off the bat and talk about what the midpoint is and just like really dive deep into what exactly that is. So to summarize, let us know where you're at. And Brittany, do you want to start us off? I'm changing things up already.
No, I love it. Let's get right into it, you guys. We're going to start off by, just sharing a little bit about what the midpoint is before we get into the actual story that we're brainstorming together, like Bethany said. So we're going to do this in parts. So here we go. The midpoint marks the middle of your novel with a false defeat or false victory while raising the stakes of the story. So we've got, it's sort of like a crossroads. It's the middle of the book. It's the middle of Act 2. It's also the middle of the hero's transformational journey. It's also called the muddle because it gets pretty messy. It's a funny and hard thing to write. So that's why we want to help you guys out. We also want to say that it is the magic moment. It's the pivoting point of the story, and we need to make it as dynamic and as exciting as possible. I'll just do one more little chunk and then I'll have Bethany do the next section. But the first thing you want to do with the midpoint is you want to have your hero experience, like we said before, a false victory or a false defeat. So either they've been upwards for the fun and games and now they're going to experience a false victory. So they got what they wanted. They are close to what they want. But it's not what they need. And so it feels like a victory, but it ends up being not, because we still have a whole nother half of the book to go, right? Yep. Or if it's been a downward spiral for the first half of the book, for the fun and games section, you're going to hit the midpoint with a false defeat. So everything hasn't been going the way that they've wanted. They've seemingly lost at this point, but they realize what they want is not what it's all cracked up to be, and they feel like giving up. But they still have time to get what they need because they're still the second half of the book. So that is the false defeat.
Yeah, awesome. Yay. And then after the false defeat, then the stakes of the story are also raised in the midpoint. So Brittany and I have talked about this a lot in our own stories. I'd be very curious to see if you feel like you're able to do this in your story. But basically, the hero can be given an opportunity to change, but they don't take it. Another way to raise the stakes could be like if there's a time is almost up kind of moment, like there's a clock that's running out. And by the way, you guys, I'm sure you know this, but these are all on page 50 of Save the Cat. That's where the midpoint explanation starts. So if you have your book and you want to follow along and actually see what we're talking about. Another way that the stakes can be raised is if there's like a love story that ramps up. So like it might be they can't hide it forever and it's going to come out in the open soon. Or if the time clock that we talked about is like an actual, like either a bomb or a deadline or an invitation to something or a threat, or, you know, they've got 2 weeks to live, that kind of stuff. And then another way to raise the stakes are if there's like a game-changing plot twist, so to speak, like it's this major changes the entire game of the story. You don't know the half of it, and here's what actually is true. And another one, there's so many different ways you can go with the stakes being raised, is if there's like a big party or a celebration or a public outing, or the two worlds collide, like the A world and the B world. And that's actually the next one that I'll let Brittany talk about.
Yeah. So the last thing you want to make sure that you do is that having your A and B worlds intersect in some way. So the hero starts to let go of what they want for what they need. So that intersection again of the A and B stories, but still they're quite a ways away from actually getting what they need or learning what they need to learn. But at least they know it and they are starting to move in that direction. They begin to realize that they can't keep going the way they've been going, that it hasn't worked, and that they're still missing something. A and B characters intertwine or cross paths at this point usually, and there's that visual cue of shifting from wants to needs. And then finally, this midpoint is like another catalyst. We had a catalyst in the beginning of the story. This is sort of like our second catalyst. So whatever this event is needs to sort of make sure that your character, it's more difficult for your character to return to see if I can talk, to turn around and to run back. I have words in front of me, you guys. So, to turn around and to run back to the safety of the status quo. They can't do that. This is like another door of no return. Cool. Yeah. So that is the midpoint in a nutshell, you guys.
Yes. And so again, I just checked, it's on page 50 of Save the Cat all the way to 56. So it's very critical in the story. And all those things that we just talked about, those 3 points, actually more than 3 points, are like kind of mile markers that Jessica Brody gives us to kind of figure out if we're actually hitting the midpoint or not. And then last week at the very end of the live, we talked about this, but I wanted to bring it up again at the beginning really quick because I thought it was a really good point, and we talked about it in my Patreon group later in the week. There are these questions on page 75. So there's like the exercise transformation test. And so for each beat, Jessica gives you questions that you can ask, like for the midpoint, can you clearly identify either a false victory or a false defeat and things like that. So anyway, I just wanted to promote her book again because we love it and that's why we're all here. And so if you guys want to like have your book open as we plot this, I've got a feeling we're going to need it tonight. But should we really quick read some of the comments about where everybody is and then recap the story so far? Is that
yes.
All right, so I'm going to scroll up because everybody was saying where they are in their stories. Still drafting, started Act 2 this week, and some people are editing. This is awesome, you guys. Okay, so it looks like you guys are actually all different places. I'm not seeing like anybody in one place, which is cool. Should we go ahead and recap?
Yes. I was just, sorry, I was quiet, but we talked earlier, you guys, about sort of walking you through a little bit of the outline that's on our website. If you are a newsletter subscriber, you get access to the outline and get to see it updated. And I finally did some major updates today. I'm visually showing it to you if I can get it working. So give me 2 seconds. I'm going to see if I can screen share.
Yay. And we can read directly from there, which would be super fun. I should have pulled it up too.
Let's see. All right. So can you guys see this?
Yep.
See the outline. Okay. Awesome. So we're going to go really fast, just giving you a quick update and a recap of the story we are plotting with you guys live, going through all the beats up till the midpoint, which we will brainstorm after we do this recap. So here we go. Let us know if you have any questions as we go ahead. Again, you can access this by going to outlinewithus.wixsite.com/join and sign up to get the password, which will get sent to your email. Then you can click the outline page and log in with the password. So anyway, we are writing a YA fantasy with dual POV with the theme overcoming fear or finding courage. Concept is in a forest or wooded land. 2 warrior princesses are on opposite sides of an ancient family feud between their shifter tribes, which is inspired by Viking culture. Each has a fear they must overcome, or dun dun dun, we're still figuring out those consequences, you guys. But it's a lot of fun. We have an inspiration board, which you can check out. And then we have our sort of creating the heroes section, which sort of gives you guys a little bit of background. So there are 2 warring tribes, like we said before, and they're in a revenge cycle. I'm going to let Bethany, do you have it up here? Can you read it on my screen?
Keep reading it. I'm pulling it up right now so that I can also screen share.
So the Earth tribe is the first tribe, and they can shape shift into beasts of the land and are ruled by the lion shifters. They are wealthy, powerful, honorable, and rules oriented. Thera is the heir of the Earth tribe. That's one of our heroes, and is hiding the fact that she always had trouble shifting by being overly cocky and is trying to avoid shifting at all costs. But what we think she needs to learn is that she is good enough. So that's her need that we are going for. The Sky tribe can shapeshift into beasts of the air and are ruled by the eagle shifters. They are less well off, cutthroat, and manipulative. They have sort of loose morals. Lore is the heir of the Sky tribe. She's our other hero, who is a trickster and expert shifter, and she is using the ability to hide her true self, which we're still sort of deciding how that's going to play out, but we'll give you some more details in a little bit.
Yeah.
What Thera and Lore don't know. Bethany, are you good? Would you like to read this part?
I just don't know how to flip it. That's my only thing.
Uh,
I am trying to remember how really quick, so you can keep going.
okay. You can, do you see mine though? As long, you can read it and I'll just follow along so they can see this.
I see it, but then when I talk, it flips, which is really
I
can see mine, but then I think when I talk, it will also show them my face.
Can you read it off my screen though?
Sure, I'll read it from here. So let's see. You are at are you at the characters or the backstory?
This part right here. Can you see what I'm highlighting?
Yep, perfect. So what Thera and Lore don't know yet is that they're sisters. So their family backstory is that before they were born, the Eagle King had a secret affair with the Lion Queen, and they had twins, but they kept it secret. The Lion Queen revealed only one daughter to the Lion King and named her Thera, and told the Eagle King to take the other, or he might have stolen her when the Queen tried to keep both and faked the other one's death so that he could keep her. The Eagle King then took the other twin Lore to his Eagle Queen, who had been unable to have kids, and this Eagle King told her that he found Lore in a destroyed village. So Lore's stepmom sees Lore as an answer to prayer, and he makes her like the daughter she never had. And the stepmom might be human. Some humans could admire shifters and intermarry. We haven't totally fleshed that out, but that's one theory we have. And then I'll kind of explain to you Thera, and then I'll let Brittany tell you guys about Lore.
Yeah.
So Thera has, like, we go through the Save the Cat flaws and problems, her shard of glass, and the effect that it has. So her flaws and problems are that she's afraid she's not good enough. She thinks and acts like she's better than everybody else, and she overcompensates basically for her insecurities. She has a strong moral center of what is right and wrong, even if she finds out that she's wrong later. And she comes across very spoiled, very self-righteous. We have the Harry Potter Gryffindor / Slytherin as her like personality type. And then her shard of glass is that she has had trouble shifting her whole life. And her parents keep it a secret, but it's all that they can talk about at home. So maybe there's feelings of shame, and that's where that feeling of not being good enough comes from. I'm just going to keep going, but then I'll let you jump back up to Lore.
You want to sort of just give that little recap of each, and then we can sort of get to a couple of these other things down here?
Yeah. Okay. And then, so you go ahead and do Lore's recap.
Sweet. So Lore is afraid of being truly known. Again, we said she's a deceiver, trickster, witty, snarky. She's a loner. And then I'm just going to bump down to the shard of glass part here that we're still sort of figuring this out, but we've sort of come to a place of maybe the whole tribe knows that Lore is adopted and doesn't fully accept her. Her parents know the truth and so push her to become a great shifter. So the tribe will accept her as the next leader. At age 13 or whenever they sort of do their sacred ritual, she gets a tattoo, or like everybody gets a tattoo of their animal, and hers isn't a lion, it's a griffin. Or it isn't, that's supposed to say an eagle. Sorry, guys. It isn't an eagle, it's a griffin. She is admired for her gift, but fears that the strange tattoo will ruin everything, so she tries to hide it. She believes she can't let anyone in or let anyone know who she truly is. So, going right along, I think we can probably skip the opening scene because we've sort of talked about that a lot of detail. But once we get down to the catalyst and debate, I think we can sort of wrap that all in there. Bethany, do you want to do Thera's catalyst and debate?
Sure. So Thera has not been able to shift, and so her instructor finally figures this out, and finds out that she never did this dream ceremony that we've talked about in the past couple weeks, because that is what helps them control shifting. And so she says, it's no big deal, no problem. But he reveals that she'll lose her ability to shift if she doesn't complete the dream ceremony immediately. And so that brings that stasis death moment that Save the Cat talks about, where it's basically the death of her ability if she doesn't go. Which leads her to start preparing to go packing for this journey to the sacred place and completing the dream ceremony.
Sweet. And then Lore, at the same time, we have this situation where there's this advisor for the Eagle King. And so the Eagle King's advisor, who wants his son, who we've been calling Boy Crush, but we think we're going to call Bjorn right here, to inherit the Sky Tribe throne. So the advisor has son, Bjorn. He wants him to be king instead. So he reports an attack by the other tribe. The advisor sends the king and Lore to go scope it out, but Lore doesn't go for some reason. We haven't quite figured that out. And it's an ambush, and Lore's father is killed. The advisor sends Lore to seek revenge at the sacred place, but sends Bjorn to kill her too. So we have this debate part where the tribe is panicking. Stepmom tries to deter her from revenge because she's overprotective. But the advisor says a real leader would go take revenge. We have intel that there's their heir that will be at the sacred place tonight. And so her stasis equals death is her father is dead. And if she doesn't go revenge him, she will look weak and unfit to rule.
Yay! And then they break into two by going and actually doing the dream ceremony like we talked about last week, while Laura is going to seek revenge, which leads to the B story. I'll let you do that one.
Sure. Then the B story is Thera eats maybe some special berries or something that only grow in the sacred place and falls asleep to complete the ceremony rites in a dream state. Lore finds Thera asleep, but finds that she can't attack. Maybe there's some protective spell over the place or something, and she must enter the dream state to kill Thera. And basically, if you die in the dream world, you die in real life. So she knows that if she kills her there, everything will be fine. At least she thinks so.
Yes. And that leads to the fun and games, that was last week, right? So you guys are going to see in a second here that there is a lot that we figured out last week. In the first one, I'll do the first dream ceremony, is we just kind of fleshed it out. So we decided that after completing the dream ceremony, a shifter will get a tattoo of their animal on their body that will be hidden from everyone else. It will be very private and kind of secret to them. We don't know if it's going to be like on their back or their shoulder, their arm, their foot, their rib. We haven't figured that out just yet. But perhaps there are priests or druid-like beings that protect this space that can see the tattoos and kind of verify. And so Lore received her spirit animal / magical tattoo when she completed the dream ceremony around age like 13, 14, 15, basically adolescence. And her shard of glass, or at least one of them, is that her tattoo is a griffin, which she has had to keep hidden from everybody. Maybe one or two people know, or maybe nobody knows. We haven't decided that yet. And then Thera never received her magical tattoo because she never completed her dream ceremony when she was supposed to. So she is also hiding this from everybody. And we're thinking that if the ceremony is super, super private, maybe nobody knows at all until her catalyst when the instructor finds out, or maybe her parents wanted to see it. So maybe only her mom knows, and she's okay with that because she doesn't want any evidence that Thera is also from the other tribe. Tribe? Clan?
Tribe.
Tribe.
So then this is what we decided for the fun and games with considering all of those details, you guys, is that during Thera's dream state, she is receiving her magical tattoo. Maybe it takes a little while. And at the same time, Lore arrives in the dream world as well, planning to kill her. When Lore sees Thera's tattoo is a griffin, though, that perfectly matches her own, she stops her plan to kill Thera. For now, she just keeps this to herself. And so you guys, I think we're back at a place where they're not identical. Maybe they have some similarities, but their tattoos are identical. So that's what makes her stop herself and not kill Thera, because she's really confused. Bjorn then shows up in the dream world as well because he's supposed to kill Lore so he can rule. We still need to figure out his personal motives. Does he try and fail? Does he fail because Lore is so good? because she's so good at attacking and shifting. And then he tells her the truth. Does he threaten to kill her unless she agrees to marry him and rule with him? We don't know. There's all these options.
Yeah.
But during the chaos, somehow Laura's magical tattoo, aka her shifting ability, accidentally gets removed and is transferred to Thera. Somewhere in here, Laura accuses Thera or her people of killing her father. Thera explains some compelling reasons for why it couldn't have been her or her people. Maybe at this point, Bjorn confesses it was his father's doing. We don't know yet. But what we do know is that not knowing that their tattoos have switched, or that Laura doesn't have hers and Thera has it now, they leave the dream world, returning to their separate bodies and leaving without incident.
Yes, and so then the reaction scene for Laura is that she reaches her tribe's village and she stays on the outskirts hidden because she's failed to seek revenge and she's not ready to face the advisor, and maybe she wants to figure out who Thera is and who really killed her father. Maybe we thought maybe she asks her stepmom to do some spying for her, or possibly she brings in Bjorn, and sometime soon she will start trying to shift so she can hide, only to find out that she can't anymore because she notices her tattoo is gone.
Exactly. And at the same time, Thera is reacting, and Thera gets home and the instructor asks her to shift, running her through a variety of tests, which she mostly passes or completely passes. We're not sure. We see her celebrating, thinking she's won, is having a fantastic time shifting and proving to everyone that she is good enough. Here we introduce more of her Shield Maiden posse, or her Mean Girls crew, as we've been calling them, as well. So we have some more Act 2 kind of characters that we'll introduce at that point.
Yes, yes. Should we keep going? We're almost done, you guys. We're getting really close.
So
You go ahead.
oh, no, you go.
Okay, so the pinch point and realization for Lore. If you guys remember from last week, we talked about pinch points and all that. We won't go into it again now, but her pinch point is that she's trying to break into the advisor's chambers, which reveals that he is the one who planned her father's death. She finds out his true motives to have Bjorn become the ruler, which makes her realize just how huge this whole mess is, and she just wants revenge even more. And Lore she gets caught while snooping and kicked out of the tribe altogether. Maybe the advisor sees and he reveals that she can't shift, or that she's unfit to rule, or something along those lines. And then she's going to go after Thera, maybe thinking that Thera stole her abilities, and tries to get them back so that she can go after the advisor and take revenge. She's very one-track minded about this revenge. And we do have a few questions, like how does Lore know that Thera has her abilities? So maybe we thought they could communicate in their dreams after they interact at the sacred place, or possibly Bjorn would try to help her, but she would be unwilling to trust him anymore.
Awesome. And then we have the pinch point and the realization for Thera. So Thera discovers that her posse, or her Shield Maidens, all hate her, and the instructor isn't a big fan of her either. Even though she has the ability to shift, it is not enough. And it turns out that she doesn't actually have as much control as she thought, because it still takes time to master. It seems to sort of have more control over her than she does of it. And maybe she has a private Griffin shifting moment that we see, so she gets really freaked out. And then on top of that, Lore is now chasing her down, trying to get her abilities back. So there could be the threat of losing what little she has now. And the midpoint, which we're going to talk about right
now. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We know it's just getting longer and longer each week, but I'm seeing tons of good reactions. Let's just really quick read these because I want to see what you guys think of it.
Yeah.
And welcome to everybody who's coming in. I'm seeing people be like, hi, I'm here late, and you're not late. We're just recapping. It's all on the website. But I am seeing a couple people saying, like, Jem says she likes the Eagle Queen being human, would make sense for her to not be able to conceive and be more understanding of Lore as a possible outsider, which is awesome. Yay. Leslie says, every time you guys see Eagle Queen, I hear Evil Queen. I love it. It's so funny. It's so like, well, it's not true in this case, but it could be true. Yeah. I also feel that way when we say Lion King. It's like, it makes me think of the movie. But anyway.
Yes, that's so true.
Angry likes the shard of glass for Lore.
Cool.
Do you want to read a couple, Brittany? I'm stealing them all.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. Jem somewhere in here says, so if the tattoos are in a hard place to see, does this mean that they have a specific or sacred outfit to wear during the dream sequence that makes the tattoo more obvious?
Ooh, I love
So
that.
I really like that idea too. The only other thing we were thinking is that if Lore starts to attack Thera, she could like, I don't know, like cut her somewhere that like opens up her the area of her clothing or something that would reveal it. So if it's like on her back or somewhere, I guess it would depend on where it is. But that's like a really cool idea too, that it would have to be revealed during the dream thing.
I like that. I like that. Because, yeah, we don't really want anybody else to know, but it's like somebody should probably know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw somebody else was saying they like the right thigh and just like that placement. And I don't know who said this. I don't know if this was you, Brittany, or somebody from last week, but I liked the rib idea for some reason. Because I was like, that's not a place that you typically would reveal ever. But if somebody was to like cut you in a fight, like you said, it would totally be like probably right there in the
Cool. Yeah, so these are all like the little details we can figure out later, but they're fun to talk about.
We love details. I think that's a writerly thing, is to kind of get sucked into the details. Do you guys think that's true? Because at least for me, I'll get very like detail minded and forget the big picture.
Yep. And then you come up with all these details that you're like, shoot, that doesn't go with this.
Yeah.
Change it.
Yeah. I love it. Oh, thank you, Gabriella. Yes, I did Viking hair, you guys. This is my
We were thinking, you guys, the very last live stream that, you know, because we'll read through the whole story and blah, blah, blah. Like maybe both Bethany and I will like seriously dress up like Viking girls and like during the live stream, it'll be fun.
play, right? Isn't that how you say it?
Yeah. It'd be so cool.
Love
Avery also says, I love hearing the read through every week. I'm so glad, because sometimes I'm like, shoot, we've said that's like a million times, you guys. But like, I'm so glad that actually helps you reorient the story. So
yeah, definitely. I agree. I sometimes feel like I'm just rambling at that point, but it's good that it actually sounds like an interesting story.
Yes.
So now we come to our questions, and I'm going to pull up page 50, I think I said earlier, right?
Yes, 50.
And let's figure out this midpoint. We had some things that we felt like, you know, the fun and games was kind of leading us up to. Like, for example, let's start with the false victory and false defeat. Which one of the girls was the very obvious false defeat? I think they had
going downward. So Lore would be a false defeat. So always match like they're going down. Yeah. That means defeat is in the word of the midpoint thing. That's what I always think of. So
yeah.
So if things are going bad, they're going to have a defeat, but it's going to be false. So that would be Lore. And then Thera's fun and games have been going up, so she's going to have a victory, but it's going to be false. That's how.
Yeah. And we need them to raise the stakes and somehow intersect the A and B stories, which is always the hardest one for me to figure out, the A and B story part, because I'm always like, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah. The A story is more of like the external, the external story, sort of like the action, like what's going on. But then, and I think it usually, if I'm remembering correctly, has mostly to do with what they want. Yeah. But then the B story is more of like the theme and like what they really need. So like both of those things sort of come together. And I think just to let you guys know, one of the things I think that we were saying at the end of the last stream, we got a little ahead of ourselves. Yeah. We were saying like, what if this is the moment that they find out that they're sisters? Because up until this point, they've been like really sort of against each other and not really understanding each other. And what if that reveal sort of starts to bring them together, and then it moves them forward into the ending, which we still don't completely know exactly what is going to happen there, but maybe we need to talk about that a little bit. But what do you guys think about this moment being the moment they find out that they're sisters?
Yeah, let us know. And then we're thinking like last week we had also brainstormed how so if Thera is going up to her like victory and she thinks that she's gotten everything she wants, then it's a false victory where she should have some sort of, we talked about using the examples of like a party in the book, how it talks about like an event celebration or some kind of like trial that she has to go through, and she's convinced that she can do it.
Yeah.
Except I'm a little confused because as I'm picturing that, I'm thinking that she would have a false defeat and fail. But if it's a false victory, maybe it'd be more of a win where she does well, but then after the fact, nobody cares. Like her posse, as we talked about them last week, the mean girls who like hang out with her, all the other shield maidens don't care. And they're still like, whatever, you're still like obnoxious to us and we still don't like you. Or like,
Right.
and the instructor, same thing.
Yep.
Um, so basically, if you're climbing up the mountain and the midpoint is the peak, the false victory, you're gonna want to climb down the mountain on the way after,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Yes.
Or into the valley and back up, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So she'll have a downward sort of motion for the bad guys close in, and Laura will have a little bit more of an upward with some bouncing ball action going on. But yeah, but I think that, yeah, someone else mentioned, I think it was Anna, like having some kind of party too. And I think like it could be that like we set it around like a party where Thera is going to be receiving some kind of, like recognition or I don't think she would be like crowned queen of the lions because her parents are still alive, but like some kind of coming of age or some kind of coming out kind of party, like they present like the young ladies of the tribe. I don't know. But like they have to like display maybe some kind of ability, like some kind of shifting ability, and she like does it really, really well. But then afterwards, she still realizes that not everybody that she wanted to like her likes her,
Yeah.
or she doesn't have the support that she thinks she should have because now she has these abilities. And she's like, shoot, I'm still a jerk or I'm still like a mean girl. And that's why people don't like me. And
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
something, I don't
Is
know.
there like some visual that we could bring in? Like either she has like a crush on somebody and thought he would like ask her to this ball dance party thing, or like, oh, or like he does, and that's the false victory, and everything's looking good, but then he totally ditches her and like makes out with some other girl, which is horrible. This is very teen angsty, but um, maybe like, yeah, like basically, give her all the things she thinks she wants on the way up, and then at the midpoint, she just can like view it all with like this serene, like, ah, I'm so happy, and then like a minute later, he's making out. The instructor's telling her parents she's still a failure or something.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
And I think I like it. I like the different pieces of it. I think there needs to be like one thing that like on top of all that, or like that brings that all of that together, which might be just finding out that they're sisters. Like maybe like the defeat too is that like Laura comes in to like attack her, and like I don't know if that would be like alone, like she's off like being glorious and like I'm like so happy, and then Laura attacks her by herself, or if it's like sort of in the middle of the party and it like ruins the party. But at some point like that could be like the defeat too, about like that sort of raises the stakes of like what are you doing here? And like there's some like we were thinking, I think we were throwing around like maybe like Laura goes to attack Thera and Thera goes to defend herself, and then like maybe the mom gets involved
Yeah.
somehow because we don't know if she knows if Laura's still alive or like if Laura's been there all along or what, but we're figuring she doesn't want her daughters to kill each other. So maybe we have this like mother and her daughters moment where she reveals stuff. What do you guys think?
Yeah. And while you guys are commenting, I'm just realizing that it could be a little tricky to make both like have their moments be such total opposites. Like, at like one's up high and one's at the bottom if they're meeting, but it could be doable. Could be doable to have them both be going towards a low point, a false victory or a false defeat. I mean, I always say the wrong thing. So, like for example, if we want them to meet and have a low point where they both have a low point meeting, you could have Thera's, issues start sooner where like the posse still doesn't like her. The instructor still says, sorry, you're still failing, or I don't know what else, but like basically have them both go downhill. Um, just because thinking when they meet, wouldn't that be like a bummer for both of them in theory if they have to have anything to do with the clan that they hate?
I think it would almost though be a victory at first for Laura because she feels like she's
Yeah.
a bit to get her ability back. Like maybe she thinks if I kill Thera, like the tattoo will return to me. Like
Right.
we're getting real dark now, but like,
Oh,
you know,
yep. But then
and
Laura's the one who's supposed to have the false defeat, right?
right. So,
So maybe her false defeat is she's trying to kill Thera, and then somebody tells her, sorry, that's not going to help. Oh my gosh. Okay, what if, I don't know if this is going to fit, but somebody said in the comments that, where'd it go? Maybe the tattoo switch is only temporary. It was Jem who said that. And that made me think, like, what if those druids / priests that we talked about, like, showed up and said, hey, we made a mistake. You know, we accidentally swapped abilities here, control or whatever. I don't know if that would be weird, but
yeah, I don't know. Do you want to say that again?
Because I was just gonna say, then Thera would lose hers if, like Jem is saying, if the tattoo switch is only temporary. At the midpoint, you could have Thera lose hers again. Well, that's not a victory, but in Laura gain it, which is, again, it's the opposite of what they're supposed to have, though.
Right.
So ignore me. I don't want to go that direction. We wanted to follow their path correctly. So we wanted to be, you know, the peak of the mountain in the valley, so to speak.
Right. And I think it does get a little muddled because either way, it's going to not be what they need. And so I think, like, I've read like some of the parts in Save the Cat where it describes like the false victory or the false defeat. Like it's either like a really quick victory and then like a really bad defeat, or like a really bad defeat by like a really small victory. Like, I don't know, it can get like the lines can get blurred. So I feel like I feel like we can still sort of make it work. I'm just gonna read a couple comments.
Yeah, definitely.
It says, I like the party idea. Maybe in Thera's tribe they have one, and there is where the midpoint hits. So that's sort of what we've been talking about. Awesome. Angry says maybe the reveal of them being sisters is also raising the stakes, which we did, and I agree. Since the tribes have been in such a long feud with each other, it might feel like a difficult situation to be in when they realize it, for sure, and then they have to figure out what that means and how they're connected. Jem says they should have like a Mardi Gras like party, like everyone is shifting and it's all colors and fun. I love that. And carnival and types of things like that.
Yeah, carnival could be really sweet. That could be so cool.
And that could make it easier for Laura to sort of infiltrate into the group, although she can't shift. But
what would be a very Viking-esque? Because I was going to go to, you know, a masked ball, but that's very European, Victorian-ish. Like, what would be a very Viking thing to do?
Right.
For a celebration. Okay, so Molson, my husband, is watching the show The Vikings, and it's very gory. So like their celebration is actually to do drugs, basically. I'm not making this stuff up. They like eat some kind of thing in the forest, and they get all crazy, and they all laugh at each other. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And it's literally like almost like a teenage party these days, but they're lounging in the forest instead of on like somebody's house.
Yeah.
Not making this up. So, like, but it would be really fun to have them get dressed up. So I really like that vibe too. But what if we played with more of a Viking-esque and we kind of veered away from the stereotypical party, and we could have it be more of like a drinking party? I don't know if that's going in a weird direction.
So Gabriella just said like a feast. Yeah. And so they could be having like a feast where they just have a lot of, I know there's like a certain word that Vikings call like.
I can't think of it.
Yeah, it's gonna come to me, or let me know, guys. But yeah, I feel like it could be like this big feast kind of deal where there's a lot of drinking, a lot of food, and
like Jem says in the comments, with like war paint.
War paint.
How cool is that? Yes.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
I really want to pull over a Pinterest board, but I won't. You guys, we have a Pinterest board. I think it's in the comments below if you want to see some cool like face tattoos as well. But maybe we'll start pinning some war paint this week.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
I love it. Okay, so how can we get? Yeah, sorry. Let's read more comments. But I was just gonna say, like in the comments, let us know how can we get Lore to her lowest low point, and Thera to her highest high point, but it's like not solving their problems.
Yes.
So let's pick one to start with. Does that feel okay?
Sure. Yeah, why don't we start with Thera, because like we're sort of in her world. Is that cool?
Good point. Yep, very true. So leading up, just so I can remember, leading up to her, she is showing off, basically. Is that what I'm remembering?
Mm-hmm.
And getting ready for her party, looking cool. How could we make this seem really great for her? Should we read more comments here? I see there's a bunch of comments. Angry says this is writing Tetris. I agree.
That's a great way to describe it.
Yes. So Leslie says maybe Thera gets celebrated for saving someone or making a big difference. I love that. And then Laura attends the party, sees the advisor and the trainer meeting, plotting the demise of both girls. So Laura's super, super low point could be actually overhearing them, like scheming. That could be really cool.
Like against her, yeah.
Yeah, like so she sees the guy that's supposed to be on her team on the enemy side, basically.
Right.
Basically a lot. I'm working on that.
Let's see here. I also have just Anna. It says Laura too, but I see Thera's name in it, so I'm just gonna read it out loud.
Okay, yeah.
Laura goes back to her tribe after Thera kicks her out and didn't help her. She doesn't know Bjorn is evil and asks him for help and gets trapped in jail.
That could be definitely a false defeat. Absolutely. Yeah. So then they wouldn't meet. So we have the direction of, do we wait for them to meet till the end? Or not meet, they've met, but to have more revelation? Maybe. I'm okay with that. Like I'm staying open to it. We really don't know what the ending is going to be. That's making this difficult.
So hard.
Yeah.
And again, we've said this a lot, you guys, but usually, yeah, Bethany and I, with our books, like we know more of the ending, but we've been trying to like just sort of take it beat by beat, even if that's not exactly how you're supposed to do it, but we're going to see if it works. So yeah, let us know if you think we should have to figure out a little bit more of the ending in order to find this stuff out too. Jacqueline says, I feel like her high point would be the honor she's about to be given. I like that. Yeah. So if there's some kind of honor or something, and maybe that's part of why she wanted to do the dream thing as well, is like she knew she wouldn't get a certain honor or certain like recognition unless she did it. Birthday party, someone says too, Melinda. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that.
That could be cool.
That might be that time clock that we talked about. Another idea, I don't know if anybody's mentioned this, what about like a battle? What if there was something a little more aggressive that they, or if it is an event, it's maybe more of a showing off their skills type event where they go, I think somebody said this actually, like Hunger Games Capital-esque, where it's like, I don't know, that might be a different direction, but yeah, showing off their skills almost in a competition vibe or setting.
Yes. Yep. No, that would be really cool. Leslie also says, oh, sorry.
No, that's good. You go.
Thea wants to be good enough, so winning something or bringing back something that brings honor to the tribe would make sense, and recognition isn't what she thought it would be. Yeah, totally. So some kind of honor, some kind of recognition. Maybe it's a party. Maybe it's a something competition or something that she has to enter and win. Like all of those. And I feel like we might want to save like a battle, more of a battle for like the end. But there could be some other kind of like raid or something, like maybe Lore, this is totally going to bring us in a different direction, but maybe Lore tries to gain the acceptance of her people back by saying like, I can get us into this party and like tear it up, and that's where it's not just Lore infiltrating, but she's convinced like a segment of her people to like go and like take revenge together. I don't know if it's too soon for that. Maybe that needs to be later.
I really like that because somebody was talking about jail, and I don't know who they meant, but now I'm thinking like if Laura got caught, then her low point is she literally led her people into getting caught, and she's on the enemy side stuck now.
Sure.
And even if we wanted to really mess with her, we could have the advisor and instructor guys tell her to her face, like, yeah, we're actually teaming up against you and we're planning to kill you as soon as
Yeah.
we can find a place to hide your body, you know, if we're getting ready. Um, and I was thinking, like, have you guys ever gotten a trophy where like something really simple, it's like a gold trophy, and then it's like, what do you do with this after? So like if there was to receive an award of some kind, not necessarily trophy, but like maybe a golden sword or something like very symbolic, and then she expects to walk around this party event thing all night being congratulated, but they're just everyone's kind of like, that's nice, you have it now. That's nice. Like put it on the wall, move on. And then you can kind of see her getting frustrated with
Doesn't
that.
do anything for her, right?
Yeah, yeah. I really like that idea that you guys said of how she doesn't feel good enough still. Like it didn't give her the feeling of being good enough that she thought she would get. I think it was Leslie who said that. And Leslie, you were saying brings honor to the tribe, so giving her like an honor that is very much like, and now it's done, we've moved on. Is that kind of what you're thinking? Or are you thinking like an honor that she expects it to just be celebrated more and people just forget about it? I'm kind of like trying to picture which direction to go.
Yeah. There's too many.
Yeah.
The Jacqueline also says if Lore gets thrown in jail, maybe Thera gets her out of jail, especially if they maybe already realized that they're sisters, that now she's like, she knows something's going on and she like feels like she has to go save her. We were also I think, playing around with the idea in a previous live stream where like Thera realizes that she needs Lore's help to master her gift. Like she has it, she has all the skills, but she hasn't had the time Lore has had to really utilize them. And Lore like wants her gift back. But maybe she's willing to help her somehow. I don't know. They eventually need to start helping each other, basically.
Right, right. What if their high and low point was literally Thera capturing Lore? I don't know how we would lead up to that, but if Thera was actually capturing someone for like her first time ever, there would be a lot of honor in that, like Leslie was saying, and there would be Lore getting put in jail, like you guys were talking about, and then that would definitely be a low point for Lore.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Brittany was saying, it would flip really quick because they would realize really fast that they don't, it's not giving them what they thought they needed. But that would also give them that chance, like you're saying, to actually interact and realize that like Thera might actually be able to ask Lore for help. Like she could go visit her in jail after and be like, so how do you control this? Because I really thought I had it down, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm going to read more comments because I feel like I'm kind of rambling. Jacqueline does agree that we might need to know the ending. And Ingrid is thinking the advisor maybe is threatening to ruin Lore's life even further. So the advisor guy is the one who's trying to lead, right? So maybe he's threatening to reveal that she's human because he thinks that her mother is her actual mother and he thinks she's part human.
Right, right. I think
I think if it was Viking culture, he'd be threatening more than just words. He might be actually like sneaking up on her or sending someone else to kill her or something.
Right, right. Well, and maybe like maybe she doesn't get kicked out of the tribe. Maybe they try to kill her and she runs away. So now they're pursuing her and Lore's pursuing Thera, and maybe she like leads her people right into Thera's party or camp or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
She didn't mean to, like she just meant to like go like find Thera.
Yes. Oh, I love that because then it's like a victory on Thera's side. She feels like her party is what led to capturing all these people, and Laura feels like her lack of gift is what led to them all being captured.
Right.
I love that. Plus, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be totally one or the other. It could be that there's blood on both sides, and they both lose a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Amber says she thinks the idea of a raid feels good in this point. And I saw something else. Jem says maybe it's Thera and her people are the ones who attack the Eagle tribe instead, So you're thinking like Thera's side is going out, which could be a really cool rite of passage as well. Like if that's the event that Thera has to like go and be the point person, so to speak, on the attack, like a
Sure.
little raid or something.
Mhm.
Maybe they're proving themselves is that they have to lead an attack and be the first one out, even if it's like a small raid. It's like their first attack ever.
Yep.
Could be cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Would it be like smart to do that though if they were doing that so frequently for like every kid's birthday? What if it was more like Thera was supposed to go out and just grab Lore, or just grab one person from the other side, and she happens to grab Lore again because Lore's kind of defenseless.
Yeah.
That would bring them together in a less public way, which could be good.
Yeah.
And if she's like literally, dragging Lore through the woods, like in ropes or whatever you call it, like handcuffed but not,
Right.
then we have more ability to play with like a conversation between them without somebody else watching.
Right. No, I think it would be good to have some kind of middle, or like they're by themselves,
Mhm.
but like in the midst of some kind of big thing. Leslie also says maybe the tribes fight for something and the Eagles have had it for a long time and Thera brings it back.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing that we've been like, what are they fighting over? Like, is it just that they hate each other because there's been so much bad blood, or is there something that they actually want? Tara, I'm gonna totally mispronounce this. Sorry. Taraya says, I like the metaphor of the golden sword recognition that looks fancy, but it's actually not useful.
Yeah, like if it was a blunt sword or something.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here.
Cool. I'm glad you guys are liking the trophy idea, so to speak, like a Viking version.
Yeah, Amber's saying we do need to push them back together somehow. I think it was her or somebody else that was saying like, yeah, we need like more character development at this point too. Um, Anna says maybe thinking about a general thing both tribes want. Okay, good. And how you want the story to end would develop it a bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good idea.
and Ingrid says honor was very important in Viking culture too. The only acceptable way to die in battle was because it was honorable. Thea realizes that she needs a different kind of honor, like self-sacrificing.
That's really cool. I like that.
So maybe, I mean, should we talk about the ending a little bit?
Yeah, we maybe should. Are we going to an ending where we merge both tribes? Do you feel like how cutesy are we getting here?
Right. Yes. This is a good question for all of you. Let us know.
Yeah.
We're feeling happy ending in some way, even if there's probably loss and like battles and stuff. But both of us more like happy endings. So is it that is the ultimate goal that they need to achieve is to like, yeah, merge the tribes back together? We have this griffin thing going on. So are they going to like both become griffins? I think we've gone back and forth of like, I'm sort of picturing the tattoo once they've found like whatever they need spiritually or like magically or whatever to learn, that they each get the tattoo and it's no longer like just one person has it. I think someone from last week was saying, well, what if one person gets one and one person gets the other? But I think it would be cool to like have it be the griffin together, I think.
I think so too, just because like what are they hiding if it's not that they have a little bit of the other side, so to speak?
Yeah, for sure.
Jacqueline says she would keep this, this whole confrontation in public to raise the stakes, though, or at least at some point put it in public. Otherwise, the conflict might be too self-contained, which is so true. That's a really good point.
And we've had like a lot of them being on their own.
Very true. So going back to our idea of a celebration of some kind, and Thera getting some kind of honor that turns out so that's her false victory in theory. It turns out to be absolutely pathetic, and nobody cares. And what if their midpoints come at different points? So what if Lore's midpoint already happened? What if Lore's midpoint was like what we already kind of created, where she confronts her uncle?
Mm-hmm,
For
mm-hmm.
example, I think we had her confronting him, and it was sort of loose, but it was like either she finds out he killed her father, which is huge, or she gets totally expelled by her tribe, or I think we had a few other things, but basically she's kicked out and she wants revenge so bad. And I think we had sent her towards Thera to get her abilities back so that she could go back and take revenge.
Right.
So her midpoint could have already happened. We're kind of placing multiple midpoints in our story, so to speak.
Yep.
So then Lore's coming up from her midpoint already in the bad guys close in section, and she comes up on Thera's midpoint of
Mm-hmm.
this trophy, and that's when they could meet. So they could meet at a slightly different spot, but still right about the middle.
Sure. Yeah.
I know
like
that's
it's around there, but
what's that?
like it's around there, but yeah.
I know that's not truly making each other their midpoint again, though. So,
It could work though. I mean, B stories typically, I'm just thinking of like the example that Jessica Brody uses, like in The Help. Like there's definitely like the main character has their midpoint in the exact middle of the book, I think, but then the other characters' midpoints happen at different times.
I love that. Do you remember which story The Help was? Was that the not institutionalized? That was the buddy.
Institutionalized, yeah.
It was institutionalized?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking at that.
Yes, we should read more comments. There's so many good comments. You guys are awesome.
Yeah. People are saying bittersweet ending. So a lot of battle and death, but there are left, and Thera and Lore manages to merge the tribes again and start again with a blank page, but the page is crumpled and ripped. Yeah, Jacqueline is saying, what about like a Hunger Games / Divergent ending where it's bittersweet? Amber says, interesting that the more we go through this plot, the more I realize these girls are not that different. That could come into play later in the story. These two tribes are not so different. Ingrid says, because they lost a lot during the events of the story. Anna says, I think part of the end would be awesome to have extra griffins. They realize more people are in the mix as well, and that helps to merge both tribes, or at least stop the killing and hate.
I love that. Because it makes the merge happen faster, for sure.
Right. And then Leslie says, if Lore gets captured and humiliated at the feast, Thera can regret capturing her for her own glory, and they both find out that their tribes are both in danger and are forced to work to save them both. Because we need like some kind of thing that is endangering both of them so that they want to work together. Yep, and other people are liking that. Amber says, I love that, Anna. I have liked the idea since the beginning, but it kind of faded out. Oh, wait, what was Anna's? Extra griffins.
The one about extra griffins, yes. I love that. I love it. So we just need to write these things down. Then we'll come back to them.
And we have our wonderful moderator, Savannah.
Thank you for having
comments. So thank you, Savannah.
Yeah, I'm very thankful that you're catching all these things, because after the lives, you guys, I never remember like the full scope of what we said. But I really, really like the idea of bittersweet. Whoever said that, I think it was Jacqueline, said that just encapsulates the coolest ending of like, maybe they did have a battle, maybe people died, and Laura's dad did still die. Like she could probably finally mourn a little bit at the end, but you still have like that merging of two tribes, all like finding how many griffins there really are hidden within.
Right.
And we did talk about this magical tattoo ceremony, thing being they are told that it helps them control their gift, but really it actually places them in a constricted, you can only do one side or the other, and it's what's keeping them apart. And we had played with that at the beginning.
Yeah.
So if we were to bring that back, then there could be some sort of like removing of all this controlling aspect, and it turns out that like maybe almost everybody can shift into a little bit of both if they want to.
Right.
Is that crazy to go that far? I mean, we talked about, I know that Brittany said this once, where it's like beasts of the land, birds of the air. They're not just lions and eagles. So the griffins could take all kinds of forms. It could be like a leopard with like, is there a bird with spots out there? I'm just trying to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think like I don't know, like I see the theme of like, yeah, we need to merge, but
Mhm,
I also love themes where it's like, yeah, we're together, but we're still different. Um,
mhm.
that's okay.
Yeah,
So
kind of
that,
embracing that.
yeah, so I'm not sure which way like we want to go, if we want to do like a little bit of both. Um,
Angry says that that's actually the Lion King 2 ending, like the movie, where 2 lion prides learn that they're not so different after all.
that's right. I love The Lion King too.
I do too. I think it is a common it's like a common I think it is a trope, honestly, that people really actually love. Like, some tropes are okay to do because people love them, and I love the idea of people getting along at the end. But again, um, Brittany and I want to avoid anything that, like, too similarly flows next to our stories. So maybe in this instance, we don't I don't know how you feel about that.
For which aspect?
Just I'm trying not to, like, give away anything. But
Yeah. All
yeah.
right. We can talk about it later. But yeah, see, that's the funny thing, you guys. Like, Bethany and I talk later and we're like, oh, yeah, that idea. And then we're like, shoot, that's sort of in my book. Like,
Yep, that's happened multiple times.
yeah. And we're just like, not that you can't use like similar ideas in multiple things, but we're like,
Yeah.
we don't want you to then read our books and be like, hey, that was like in their other story. Like, they can only write one thing, I guess. Like, that's
Yes, yes. We
so,
wanna definitely open up to other things besides our favorites.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bethany says, I know Brittany mentioned Cam Weiland the other day, and she adds, in pinch points to the story between plot points. So if the break into two, midpoint, and Dark Night of the Soul finale are the main plot points having to do with the sisters, maybe adding some points in there where the protagonist, boy crush dad, if I remember, boy crush's dad,
Mhm.
shows up in some way who is the protagonist. Yeah. Yeah, so I think, like, those pinch points we definitely have, like, the advisor guy sort of acting out a little bit and
Yeah.
being he's, like, really our main antagonist right now.
Mhm.
Even though, like, the girls, I think, at the beginning sort of see each other as their antagonists, even though they're actually their B story. Um,
And are you saying, Bethany, if you're lost on the protagonist at, like, which one, Fear and Lore, is the, like, lead character? Or just protagonist or antagonist?
protagonist is, like, the main hero, and then antagonist is the villain or
Okay.
the
Yes, yes, yes. So we know our antagonist. We haven't totally nailed down if it's Fear or Lore who's gonna be the main, but
right.
um yeah, again, like Brittany said, like with the story of The Help, which is on page 140 in here. Abeline, there's like three main characters, but then one specifically is the main character, and she tends to be the one where the beats hit the correct percentage points. And so we might find out that like Thera or Lore are clearly like one of them's clearly the main character based on where their beats are landing.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to remember. There is a, this is the fun thing to talk about. So why not? Like in case you guys are running into this in your story, there is a point somewhere in the back. I want to say like 280 something, where she helps you figure out who. Oh, right here. Help. I might have more than one main character. 283. And so she talks about like ways that you can determine if you have options, who your main character really is.
Yes.
And I know one of them, without like reading this whole thing, is that you figure out who the audience can most relate to. Is a really big one. So
Mhm. Yeah. And
possibly, yeah.
another one too is like which one has the most room to change or which one will
Oh,
change the most by the end of the story.
right.
Which
I forgot
again,
about
not knowing where ending is sort of killing us right now.
that.
Bethany was saying that she meant antagonist. She's wondering who the main
Okay.
antagonist is. And I
Got
think right now it's really like it's this advisor guy on
it.
the
Mhm.
Eagle
I think so.
Sky
And also
Tribe
the
set.
instructor, right? Are we thinking that like on Thea's side, possibly the instructor is a little bit the bad guy, kind of in cahoots with the advisor?
Right. I think we've been seeing them both as like antagonistic, but then I think the instructor was starting out at least a little more like either being manipulated
Mhm.
by or like his like second in command or like
Main-
just wanting the same thing but not as like
Yeah.
smart or as like doesn't have the whole plan. Like the advisor is really the guy who's like, do this.
Yeah, he's like his underling, so to speak.
Right. Cool. Okay. I don't know. I'm seeing the time, and I don't know if you wanted to transition to talking about other people's stories.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. So there's still some comments coming in, and we're going to have Savannah catch them, and we can keep talking about it a little bit. But we'd love to spend like a little time at the end of these sessions now to listen and see if there's anything with your stories, especially you guys are, a lot of you are in the middle of Camp Nano. What are you struggling with most? Is there anything that we can try to troubleshoot with you and brainstorm with you? And not just Bethany and I, but anybody who's in the chat can chime in and sort of help each other out until we got like 25 minutes. So if you have any of that, let us know.
Yes, and while you guys are typing, that reminded me, as you said that, Brittany, I was like, that reminds me that in just a couple weeks, like 2 or 3, we have Jessica Brody coming on this live stream. I almost called it a show. It's basically a show. It's a fun little like hangout get together. She's gonna come party with us and like actually talk with us all in person, and we get to ask her our questions. So I know that you guys can like show up live, and we definitely want that to ask questions as they come to you. But we also wanted to start gathering them in advance. So we just sent out a newsletter with a survey link. And we could probably, I don't know if the survey link's on the outlining page, but we could probably add it there too, right, Brittany?
I just put it there today, and I'll show you real fast.
Yay, awesome.
This is, so when you sign in to the outline page, we have a few other links here, but the third one is the details about when we're having the live stream with Jessica Brody. Want to have your question answered, submit your question, and join us live. So you just need to click at this button. It'll take you to a very short SurveyMonkey survey where you just put in your name and your question. And then we will try to get to as many as possible on that day.
Yeah, I see my face. Yeah, so I think that we'll probably get some similar questions. So it'll be really fun if you guys are willing to do this in advance to get the ones that are clearly a theme kind of like at the top of our radar or the top of our list so that we know that we're going to hit them. Like if everybody has specific questions about certain beats, like fun and games, bad guys goes in, that we could really nail those things. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No,
really
yeah.
pound home on those things. I think I'm mixing metaphors, but anyway. So you guys, I see still comments for the ending coming in. So I think what we're gonna do is, we could definitely talk about this a little bit more, but please send us any questions you have, like for Save the Cat and just random beats, and we can help you brainstorm if you want.
Yeah, I do want to shout out as we're waiting for that to come in. People are really liking Jacqueline's idea, and I sort of like it too.
Ooh,
Maybe, so it says she's responding to Leslie, so I'm gonna have to go back and see where that is. But she said maybe doing this causes them to break off and start their own tribe, and they see who follows them, which would be interesting. I feel like,
oh my gosh, yeah,
that could like go into a second book kind of deal, possibly. But
comment is right above it. She said that the ending's hard because the girls could be griffins, and maybe both tribes just expel them and they carry on in their hatred. But like, she's saying it will be a big enough deal that it changes them in some way. So then I think what Jacqueline's saying is like, so maybe they start like a third tribe, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because it's like not resolving everything, but it's like they're breaking out on their own, knowing that there's a better way. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Brittany?
I'm throwing another monkey wrench in there because I remember something from like one of the very first lives when we were talking about them being sisters or not sisters. Oh, yeah. And someone was like, what if there was a third secret sister? And we were like, yeah, like it could be, yeah, like just a random third sister that has, like, maybe she's been a griffin for a long time and we just haven't known that till now. Mm-hmm. Or like it was this other thing because we were doing like sky and like earth, and then we were like, what if there's like a water tribe?
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
I know it doesn't really fit here anymore. I'm just throwing it in there because I liked it. But yeah, but it could be like this they go into like this third kind of tribe kind of deal.
Super random, but because we're doing all the wrenches, and I'm not seeing any comments come in yet, although my comment box might be slow. So guys, definitely like let us know what you want to chat about for your stories, but just to like follow that trail, that rabbit trail. What if that control that keeps them into only, beasts of the land and only beasts of the air is actually like it once that's removed, if people choose to remove it, they can do like absolutely any shape shifting they want. I don't know if that's going too crazy and maybe we could go a different direction, but like maybe it like opens up this whole new world for them, like you guys are saying. And like basically you could have some people choose to remove this restriction and then other people choose to live in hate. So you don't have the full, la di da happy ending, all is well. There's still people who are choosing the wrong thing, but Thera and Lore are choosing something better. And
Yes.
like taking off that restriction.
Yes.
Somehow. I don't know if it should all be everything, but
just consistency's sake, if it's the removal of the tattoo, then that does it. Like the kids don't have it, the younger kids, which it could allow them to like experiment. I think we talked about that too, where like
yeah.
if you're little, like you can be experimenting until you settle into your animal.
Ooh, yeah, great.
But then if Thera grabs Lore's and Lore doesn't have hers, we're saying then she can't shift, or maybe she just has like she all of a sudden doesn't have control again, so she is experiencing all these different ones. I was just to make it consistent. But I like that idea that there's something that is keeping them from being able to do more, and where they're seeing it's a strength, it's actually like a weakness.
I like that. I really like that. That's so cool. Okay, so my brain's going to a weird place, but you know how sometimes an epilogue of the story will be like away in the future? And you could have like, Thera and Laura, everybody who got tattoos is kind of locked in because they settled. But when the kids in the future start experimenting, we see that like the dolphins and the fishes and the water options come into play.
Yeah, like the whole world sort of opens up.
Yeah. But anyway, we're definitely getting a little bit ahead of the game, but I love it.
Oh, we did have a question though. Let's see.
Okay, we're in.
Gabriella says, I'm in the bad guys close in beat, and my work in progress is really hard to show my character's flaws. Any advice? I'm also pantsing it, but I'm using Save the Cat in a way. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So bad guys close in, so that's after the midpoint, and it's really hard to show my character's flaws. Okay. So clarify this for me, because I think I have or I've been having a similar problem in my work in progress, where it's like by the midpoint they sort of learn something, but they can't learn everything. So it's like, are you having a harder time showing those flaws because they sort of learned something and now you feel like they should be like perfect, like they know it already? Because that's where mine was, where I started writing scenes and I was like, no, wait, like, well, she knows this, but like she also has to be fighting it. She still has her flaws until like the very end. So just clarify, is that your question? I don't know if I'm making sense, but
Yeah, no, totally. That makes sense. Huh. That is tricky because you're pantsing it. I noticed that. And like, so, okay, I used to be like strong outliner. I definitely have started to pants more, but whenever we pants, we do risk the possibility of going off the rails into nowhere land that's like leads us into a direction that doesn't jive with what we want to do. So if you are having trouble showing their flaws, maybe you could come back to, because I see you're using STC in a way, you could come back to use it specifically on those questions, not to harp on the questions again, but that's what I found myself doing, because I was pantsing some of my stories more than I used to. Gosh, what page are they on? 50, I think, right?
for the midpoint we were at 50. Yep. And then
75, 6.
75 for the questions. Yeah.
So like if you're, let's see, the bad guys close in. So if you were to just use this as like just a general helping you kind of figure out which direction to go, it says, wait, bad guys close in, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you could ask like, okay, you are kind of asking the question of, have you shown or identified how the internal bad guys or flaws are working against your hero? So you could ask yourself that deeper question of, how is this working against what they want and keeping them from what they ultimately need? So you could go back to the drawing board of who your character is and their wants and needs and goals. But yeah, let us know more, like Brittany said, because I'm not totally sure.
She did say yes, exactly. I think that was for when I was explaining it. And I think for me, Gabriella, what was helping me and what's continuing to help me is like if I know she hasn't learned it yet, like I have to keep showing her fighting like the full acceptance of what she's learned.
Okay.
So there's like this sense of like, yeah, I know what the right thing is to do, but because of like my shards of glass, because of like the wrong things that the other wrong things I believe, or the relationships that I have that bring up all of this other stuff, there's still like this gut reaction to just revert,
Mhm.
even if you know what is right. So I don't know if that helps, but like sort of brainstorming scenes or situations where it's just like, what would make them want to just like pretend they didn't even like learn that, or just not fully learn it, and sort of maybe use it for their own purposes still instead of like using it for the right purposes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love that. Let us know if that helps because I love that. That's really smart. And then
Um,
Ingrid had a question too. She said for her story, she's in Act 2 introducing the B story character, but constantly worrying if she's over describing scenes. Is this a worry for edits, like to worry about later, or any tips on how to think about it while drafting? Okay, so you guys, there's such a thing as like an overwriter and an underwriter, and like usually you'll go one way or the other as a writer. There's no like when you're drafting, don't worry about it. Yes, to answer your question, don't worry about it. That's like an editing thing. I've done both. I don't know about Brittany, but I used to like describe everything, and I used to write scenes that didn't end up making it into the book, and it was just like you just have to do it, and you don't know until you've written it if it's going to make it into the book or not. So and then maybe someday you'll end up being an underwriter, or in different scenes you'll overwrite some and underwrite others, and that's totally okay. Like drafting is all about like getting the skeleton of the story onto the page so that you can see it enough to work with it and like have a better like a visual of what you have to play with.
Yes.
So
I have the problem sometimes of underwriting, so I wish I had your problem sometimes because I think it's easier to actually go back, like you're saying, in the edit
mhm.
and like see like, okay, this is a little extraneous. I don't really need this.
Yeah.
But if you don't have something there, then it's just like, great, now I have to think of more.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I think you can think about it later. Just keep plowing through, get that
Mhm.
whatever draft done, and then you can go back.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. Like having done both, it's much easier. It's a little more painful to delete words, especially if you're going on word count and you're like, yes, I have 100,000 words, and then you delete 30. Speaking from personal experience, then that's painful. But it definitely is easier than adding because adding is just like from nowhere. So yeah, definitely just go with it. Details are awesome. Nicole says, any tips on creating complex slash complicated relationships between characters, especially siblings? Speaking of siblings in this live stream, and tying that to the beats. So pretty much what we're doing right now with our story that we're plotting here.
Yeah.
I'll let you start this one, Brittany, because I'm not sure what to say.
So just creating complex or complicated relationships. I mean, I always try to go just like really deep into what makes this character tick.
Yeah.
And then if you're sort of trying to make it complicated with other characters, it's like what kinds of things in each character would rub the other character the wrong way?
Mhm.
What are their differing beliefs or what kind of backgrounds are they coming from that would sort of put some friction so that they're not always like the same person, like agreeing on everything,
Mhm.
or just their different experiences. So
Ooh.
I would, yeah, maybe do a little bit more character work, but then you can be, depending on if that particular relationship is like crucial to the story or not. If it is, you can sort of line it up with the beats and like make each beat like a different defining moment of their relationship depending on what's happening in that beat. But if you could also make it as like a subplot. So like in those scenes, like in the fun and games and Bad Guys Close In, where you're like, I need extra scenes. What do I do here? It's like use them to develop the relationships.
Yeah.
While you're still keeping like the main story, but like you could have this your scene or your story is like really intense. You could have this relationship moment in there that sort of lightens up the mood a little bit, gives your readers like a break. So that's sort
That's
of what just
good.
on my head.
Yeah, yeah. That made me think of how, like, just to build on that, you could look at a real life relationship, because sometimes drawing from real experience, whether like people that you just see randomly or somebody you actually know, like think of what would be realistic and will come across really real, because readers want, like, often as writers, we protect our characters, especially our favorite ones, and we make everything good and happy and everybody gets along. I did this for sure. I had, especially in Evelyn's number, all my characters pretty much got along. And I was like, no, that's not real life. Like when people get into, especially like intense situations, there's often a lot of arguing and fights and disagreement. Typically, nobody sees the world quite the same way. So ask yourself, like, for example, growing up with three brothers, we fought constantly about stupid things. It's usually like you're touching me, I'm not touching you. That kind of like and just dumb stuff like that. And so like depending on, you're saying complex and complicated, so maybe like obviously a bigger fight than that. Like depending on what their shards of glass are, you could really make them, whenever they interact with each other, they're kind of like twisting the shard of glass into each other, and that could be a way to really make it more complex. But I would just say, yeah, bring out the confrontation, bring out the real life. Don't be easy on them.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Jacqueline had a question too. Where did it go? She was saying her MC is half vampire, half witch. She tried to fit in with the vamps and is now on the run and trying to fit in the witch coven. If they find out she's a vamp, they will kill her. Oh, sorry. Maybe there's no question there. No, wait. I thought I did see one though. You were saying you need fun and games help. Okay. So a little bit above that. Jacqueline said fun and games is holding her up.
Okay.
Maybe just keep writing. Brittany and I were talking about that this week, and we were like, and I think Brittany gave that advice to a couple people actually, is like, if you're feeling a little bit stuck and maybe you do feel like you're underwriting something, you could just keep going. Like, like for me, I'm actually editing the 5th round and I've added 10,000 words to my story as of the last week and a half. So you can flesh it out later as long as you just like hit the bare bones of your story.
Right.
I don't know if you have more advice on that, Brittany.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know, Jacqueline, if you've already like gotten through the whole story and you're going back and trying to add more at this point. But yeah, I think if our advice is definitely like if you're getting stuck there, just like write down a few ideas and like move on, because something else might happen or come up later in the story that you're like, shoot, now I need to set up this. Now I can go back here and add this scene.
Yeah.
But you won't really know that until you've gone a little more forward.
Yeah.
If you write like too much and then all of a sudden that happens, you're like, shoot, now I have too much going on over there. Um, but I definitely think like, I don't know, at least the things that we talked about last week, during that stream and like breaking it up with the realization and the reaction, all that kind of stuff. Like I would just like brainstorm,
Yeah.
like put like number 1 through number like 10 or 15 on a piece of paper and give yourself a timer of like 20 minutes or 15 minutes and just say, I'm not gonna like leave this place until I have like 15 different scenes that could possibly happen, even if like 10 of them are crap. Like at least you'll have like a few that you can that you can use, but you got to get like your brain going kind of deal. So
Yes, so good. I love that. Amber says, I was just kind of giggling on the side because I saw Amber said she gets attached to the words that need to be cut, and that made me laugh. We all do.
but I can't remember if we shared this last week, but Bethany shared with me at some point that it's like what you don't use right here, like you can put in a different doc or in a different like space and just be like to use for future, things. Like there's one like description in my first chapter that I absolutely love and other people that have read it really love too. But like I'm trying to rework a part and I'm like, shoot, I don't even know if this fits anymore. And I'm like, I might have to use it in a different book. Well, I really like it.
Yes. And okay, to elaborate on that, sometimes like just the act of putting it in another Word document so it's not truly deleted, that can it can free you up to be like, it's okay. It's still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful words. As the saying goes, it's like kill your darlings. You don't have to kill them. You can just put them in jail somewhere else and like put them over there and be like, it's okay. Just live over there for a minute while I work on this because you don't belong in this. So yeah, that can kind of help you. it helps me at least to just be like, they're not totally gone.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad you brought that up. That was fun. And then I saw one more question, but I've lost it. Oh, Leslie's asking about multiple B story characters. Can't decide if they're just secondary characters or B story characters.
Mm.
That's fun. And I have my trusty.
You're so prepared. I don't even have it around me. I feel terrible. I don't even know.
Well, I snuck away while you were talking at the beginning, and I grabbed it.
Perfect.
I need this tonight. So you can have twin B story characters. I remember that.
They have to serve different functions, right? She talks about like the different ways that a B story can help your character. And like I have four
Oh yeah,
almost B
sure.
story characters. One of them, I chose one of them as like the main one.
Mhm.
But the other three are pretty pivotal as well. But they need to each have a function, and if they're serving the same function, then they probably don't need to be as prevalent or maybe in there at all
Sure.
because your other one is serving that same function. Did you find that page?
Yeah, so it's on page 44 where she talks about B story, but then I also looked at the questions on 76 because I'm all about these questions. And it's can you identify how your B story character or characters represent the theme? So knowing if they're a B story character probably it like boils down to, are they ultimately bringing out the change that the hero needs? And I think she talks about that about Winn-Dixie on 46. So she's saying that you can introduce as many characters as you want, but the B story character is the special one that is like an ambassador of their life lesson, which I really like. So they're just the person who is really going to force them to change. So I guess what you could do is ask yourself, like, for each of those characters, if you have more than one, if you have four, like Brittany, like, are they making my character realize the lesson that I want them to learn? And then if they are, they probably are a B story character. I
Right. Agreed. This is also a question that we could bring up with Jessica.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah,
So exciting.
I love that one. Actually, I'll do that later. But yes. Were there any more questions in there?
See, Shani says, what do you do when you have trouble figuring out where to start your story? And we have 3 minutes, so
So this is the
rapid
last one.
fire.
Oh gosh. Do you want to start this one? This is tricky.
Yeah, I think it might take you a couple tries,
Mhm.
but definitely, I think like it needs to be before your catalyst. It can't be like during the catalyst. And it needs to give at least a little space where, yeah, between the catalyst and your opening, because you need some time to like set things up and like set up your world and set up like the flaws of the character and all that kind of stuff. So again, all of that is definitely in that like creating your hero section of Save the Cat. So I would reread that. But I think you need a scene where like they're in their day to day. But I always find it like more engaging when there's like some kind of smaller problem going on in that scene that they have to deal with. And so you can show a little bit of conflict in there and sort of showing their flaws and showing like what, where we sort of start the character so that when we get to your final image, then it's sort of like that mirror effect where they're completely different. So how can they be like so different from when they're ending? I guess.
Mhm. Yes, and I like the idea of starting in the action because honestly, okay, I've started my stories in the wrong place multiple times. So the first thing I would say is don't stress about it. You can edit it later. Like just get every scene that you're visualizing onto the page, but don't get attached to it because, for example, I just completely rewrote the first chapter and more actually of my fantasy series. And I wish that I'd done that for Evelyn's Number a little bit because I think it could have been a lot stronger. I've talked about this before. I have a wake up scene, which is nothing wrong with that, but waking up is not very active. And so if I could have dropped them into a different moment, like I won't give away anything, but like just a little bit further into the day and drop them into the action, like Brittany's saying, if there's something actually happening, some real conflict right off the bat, it shouldn't just be like the alarm went off, I'm going to school, or pulling off the covers, stepping out of bed. Like, definitely write whatever comes to you, because sometimes things will come to you that lead you into the rest of your story and you needed that first part, but maybe you're going to end up starting a bit further in than you expect.
Yep.
Just coming from my experience, because I've rewritten beginnings multiple times. So
Yeah.
don't get attached.
Very
Um, yeah, so we're right at 7 o'clock, or well, my time, 8 o'clock your time, I think. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We really, really appreciate you. Bring those questions that we didn't get to next week. So I think we want to do this again,
I
right?
think we're getting into a rhythm where, like, yeah, we can get to a place where we have some extra time with you guys, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, next week we are talking about the bad guys close in. So some of you that were having issues with that will dig down deep into it. We're going to be on my channel the same time, so 5:30 CST, 7:30, no, 6:30 EST. Same day, Wednesday. And yeah, we're excited. We've passed the midpoint. We're getting into the second half of the book. And we just really thank you guys for being a part of this adventure with us. It's really fun.
Yes, thank you guys. And so we will see you again hopefully next week. Don't forget to take your questions, and especially if they're like Save the Cat Beat questions, and send them to the survey on the, I believe it's linked below, the Outline With Us website, but I'll link it if it's not. I'm pretty sure it is though. So just jump down there, go over to the Outline With Us website, and then send questions for the survey, because we're going to start gathering that up. And yeah, we have as many questions as you, I think. So that should be really fun.
We're all in this together.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys. I hope you have a great night, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Bye.